Wow. Thanks, Keith. That's well, you can make anybody sound good with that. So that's great. It's a real privilege and an honor. I never, I read this book, Greatness, a few years ago, and I never thought um, 3 years ago that I would be connected to the Greatness folks. I mean, what great people to be connected to. So about 10 years ago, I was in a really like a bad space, really tough place in life. Had a really abusive boss that coincidentally actually took the role that I had been appointed to. The very next day, I was told, well, it's his. We messed up. And halfway through this year, we knew it was just going to be a year or so because we had a gift that was coming. And but it was tough. It was a tough year. We get to January, so we only have a few months left. And he didn't believe in this trip that we do with our students, but we had promised them this trip to Disney World because we do it every year with our entrepreneurship majors. And so I'm down there with this, getting ready to be with the students for a week. I get there a little bit early. And the day before the students are coming, I have some time left, so I plan to play golf that afternoon. And instead, I just decided to go to bed. 70 degrees out in January. Why would you just take a nap, in the middle of the afternoon? But I was down, and I wanted to kind of wallow in my own self-pity, so that's what I did. About 10, 15 minutes later, I wake up really groggy, and all of a sudden, I find myself at the golf course. And play the first hole. They squeeze me in. It's really busy. Play the first hole, end up on the first green. I look up, and this guy's, hey, come on, join me. It's really crowded. We're not going anywhere. So I'll get back to that story in a little bit. So excellence. I love excellence. I have a real appetite for it. I love to see businesses that perform excellently. I love to see teams that perform excellently. I love to see it in motion. So what does that look like? Chick-fil-A, John Wooden, Pat Summit, Buc-ee's. What a great operation. Great operation if you're familiar with Buc-ee's. Drew some applause, so it must be good. MJ, of course. I mean, that's an icon from my childhood and early adulthood, I guess. But one locally that stands out to me, and you don't really think of airports as excellence, right? But the Indianapolis International Airport, I've done work with them, and I always come away thinking, wow, they really are pursuing excellence. They want to represent their community well. And one story in particular that stood out to me that I learned about them was that they stumbled across a cemetery in the corner of their property as they were developing it. And they didn't know what to do. They're not in the cemetery business, So they contact the experts, and they say, well, we would advise that you move it, that you relocate it, because you've disturbed it already. It was abandoned. Nobody knew about it. Just do it service by relocating. So they relocate this cemetery, and they actually win a national award for how they handled this from the cemetery trade group. There is such a thing. And I thought that's pretty cool. That's excellence, to be that focused on something that isn't really in your business. They could have easily brushed it off. So lesson 1, excellence requires ongoing, extraordinary effort and commitment. I think we all know that, right? But sustained excellence, there's no guarantee on it. It's tough to keep in your grip. So a couple of examples that come to mind in my world. One would be Disney Parks, Resorts, and Experiences. I mean, they are really the industry leader in multiple industries, and they have been for decades. And the way they did it was through a foundation of purpose. And it was really simple messaging, and everybody bought into it. We create happiness. We create happiness. So simple, right? The other thing that was differentiating for them was their brand promise. They're in the show business, right? but they wanted special entertainment, different entertainment with heart, with human touch, and they were really good at it. The other one that comes to mind, kind of crumbling before our eyes, unfortunately, is Southwest Airlines and their love model, which they said, we want to show the love to our employees, our customers, and our partners. And they've done a great job of this for many years. These two companies are still at the top of their fields, but it's slipping. It's not quite what it used to be. How does that happen? What's the focus? So lesson 2, excellence with only achievement in mind, only achievement, so bottom line in these cases, easily fades away. It easily fades away because it's hard to stay focused. So excellence gone wrong. Take this a step further. From my childhood, something that always comes to mind when I think excellence gone wrong is Todd Marinovich. So Todd Marinovich, standout high school, college quarterback in the 90s. And Todd had an incredible amount of pressure on himself because of his dad. His dad expected perfection. Perfection in workouts, perfection in diet, perfection in school, perfection in fundamentals, training, everything, perfection. He crumbled under the pressure, and he relied on drugs. So Todd spent his whole life, he's about my age, and he still struggles with this. So that pursuit of perfection can really get you in trouble. So for me, I'm not exempt from excellence gone wrong, for sure. I can relate to Todd Marinovich because growing up, my dad expected perfection of me. And when I think back, I think to those moments. And one in particular that was really tough was my sophomore year of high school. After a high school basketball game on a Friday night, my dad meets me outside the locker room. And he just proceeded to rail me on how poorly I played. And I was a little confused because I thought, I had a decent game. Made a couple of mistakes at the end, but I had a pretty decent game. My coach happened to walk by right when the key parts of this exchange were happening. When I went into the locker room, he said, hey, you played well tonight. I'm happy with how you played. That stuck with me as a really good coach. Like, he knew in that moment, no matter how I played, I feel like he knew I'm going to lift this guy up. I'm going to lift this kid up. So that stuck with me. But it makes for a hard life when you're pursuing perfection and when it's expected of you, because then you project it onto other people. And that's what I did in my businesses, with my students. I had this perfection in mind, which is fine. This excellence is good. It's healthy. We all seek excellence. That's why we're here, right? But it's not healthy when you don't love them, when you don't come alongside them and love them too. And that's really what I had to learn. So lesson 3, pursuit of excellence void of purpose, it's dangerous. And it's dangerous because the chase never ends. It goes on and on and on. And it never fully satisfies. At the depths of your soul, it doesn't satisfy you. You want more and more and more. Why? Because excellence is self-serving. It's just self-serving. But greatness, on the other hand, is other-serving. So what does greatness look like? To me, a few examples that come to mind. Photography by Christopher Glotzback. But the Muncie Central High School football team, local high school football team for us, these boys are pursuing excellence on the football field, but they're also pursuing greatness. They want to have an impact on not only the football situation, but their community. Pretty cool. That's greatness. Another one, and this one, if you would ask me 6 months ago if I would have said this, I would have said no way. But after doing some research, Carly Ursay comes to mind. She took over for her dad, Jim, who passed away about a year ago, as the CEO of the Indianapolis Colts. And Carly came on the scene strong. She had the headsets on. She had the notes. She was in the mic. And I thought, oh, whew, she's overdoing it here. She's micromanaging this organization. But as time went on, I started learning about her. And a couple things came to the surface. Number one, of course the reporters asked her, what's up with the headsets? And, you don't fit in with the fancy clothes, and you don't fit in on a football field. And she said, I'm being me, but I'm also trying to learn. I'm trying to learn this organization top to bottom. And I'm trying to learn because I want to make the best decisions for our people. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening. The other thing, though, that really stood out to me is, and some of you that have been in the pro sports game, it's a tough life. And we see the first round draft picks, the signing bonuses, but the reality is most don't have that luxury. And it's a tough life. It's a grind, and there's no guarantee of tomorrow. You're one injury away from no income and no career path. And so what Carly did, and I've researched it, I haven't found an organization that does anything quite like this. But right away, she instituted a program for their players that were cut off their practice squad to have financial security for a good amount of time, like a year, and to have workforce training to be ushered into the workforce with help. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. You don't see that in pro sports a lot. So to me, that's greatness. Another one that comes to mind for me, Scott's familiar with this group, but Paul B. Hardware and Paul B. Zimmerman Companies out of Pennsylvania. These people are they're as good as it gets. And they have, I think, about a $100 million company. They have retail home centers, but they also have manufacturing. And one thing that stood out to me, I spent some time with them. What really stood out to me, they care about their people deeply. They treat their people like family. They care about their communities that they serve, but they care about everybody. And one thing that really stood out to me, and I heard it from them, but then I saw it on the wall. What stood out to me was they had these posters, and it said guiding principles for purchasing. Now, if you're in the retail business, you think, guidelines for how you treat your vendors. That's a new one. We get the best deal we can, right? That's not what Paul B. says. They said words like honesty and integrity, fair and reasonable treatment. That's good stuff. And they do it. They live it out. To me, that's greatness. This one hits really close to home because it's recent, but it's just so awesome. My former entrepreneurship student and our baseball coach, Rich Maloney, his former player, Alex Call, so on the right and the bottom here, Alex spent 7 or 8 years in the minor leagues. 7 or 8 years, that's a tough grind. Tough, isn't it, Rich? Tough grind. And he spent about, I think, 4 years in AAA. Pretty rare. Usually they're moving you along by then. But why did they keep him around? Why did they keep Alex around? Well, they kept him around. To me, it's really simple. I saw it. He mentored and coached the younger players. He was very selfless, and he took them to Bible studies. He apprenticed them. He invested in other people. The organization saw that, very rare, and they kept him around. He was a great player, good asset, but there was another reason why they were keeping him around. So Alex finally makes the bigs. He's playing the bigs the last 4 years. And a month before World Series time, he has traded the Dodgers. The reward is near. And he knew it. The first thing out of his mouth to a reporter was, "I'm going to the World Series," which I'm sure that, the rest of the league took a little offense to. But pretty cool. To me, Alex is greatness. The other one is Yamamoto, the pitcher. Game 3 of the World Series. He throws a complete game, over 100 pitches. Very unusual in today's baseball, right, Justin? And, you know, they're throwing like 4 innings, and that's a big deal nowadays. And he throws a complete game, huge game. They really needed that game. The Dodgers did. And then he's in the dugout cleaning the dugout after the game. Wow. Then the next night, if any of you stayed up till 3 a.m., the next night, 18-inning game. Dodgers have used 19 pitchers. Whoa, ain't that many on the roster. They said, the manager said, the next one's a position player. We don't have anybody else. The guy that was in the game, Will Klein, we know. And, well, is he going to be able to go? Is he going to be able to finish the game? He pitched 4 innings. He hadn't pitched 4 innings like the whole year, not even close. He makes it through the game, but what's interesting is Yamamoto sends his translator up to the coach. And he said, he's in. If you need him, he's in. He's pitched the night before, 103 pitches. He's in. Not only that, he sends himself down to the bullpen. He's throwing gas over 100 miles an hour. That's greatness. Another really neat story, Milton Hershey. Pretty obviously, Hershey's Chocolate Company, but it didn't start that way. Similar story to a lot of entrepreneurs. It was a struggle for a long time. He finally makes it with Lancaster Caramels, sells that company off, and he decides to start Hershey's Chocolate Company for one reason. He wants jobs and infrastructure for his community. That's why he started it. Gets better, though. He started a school for orphans called Milton Industrial School. And he gets to a point where he's very financially stable, but he said, something's missing. So he gives his entire estate, when his wife passes away, to the Hershey Industrial School. Sets it up for long-term success. So to this day, the Hershey Industrial School serves over 2,000 orphans in a home-like setting with like foster parents. He wanted it to be a home-like setting for these kids. Over 2,000 a year, and the school still has controlling interest of Hershey Chocolate Company. A lot of profits funneling into it. That's an incredible legacy. That's greatness. Scottie Scheffler, pro golfer. You could argue he's up there with the top 3 or 4 in the last 3 or 4 years for the greatest stint of golfers in history. I love Scottie because he has a very unorthodox swing, and I can relate to that. But I like it too because golf is this game of perfection, and it's this game of everything needs to be perfect and everything is analyzed. And he gets to the right positions, but he does it his way. And I love it. But what I love more, and we've seen a lot of this because he wins a lot, when he's on that 18th green on Sunday and he's won, you're always going to see his family with him. Always. Now, here's what's interesting about Scottie. Kind of a series of quotes from him, and these aren't very old. These are really fresh. These are 3 or 4 months old at best. So I'm just going to read them all. Is it great to be able to win tournaments and to accomplish things I have in the game of golf? Yeah. It brings tears to my eyes just to think about it because I've literally worked my entire life to be good at this sport. That's excellence. That's accomplishment, performance. To have that kind of sense of accomplishment, I think it's a pretty cool feeling. But wanting to win so badly is something that I wrestle with on a daily basis. It's like showing up at the Masters every year. It's like, why do I want to win this golf tournament so badly? Why? I don't know, because if I win, it's going to be awesome for 2 minutes. the best player in the world, right? We work so hard for such little moments. I'm kind of a sicko. I love putting in the work. I love getting to practice. I love getting to live out my dreams. But at the end of the day, sometimes I just don't understand the point. Best golfer in the world. To get to live out your dreams is very special, but at the end of the day, I'm not out here to inspire the next generation of golfers. So we see a shift. The quotes are moving from excellence to something deeper, right? I'm not out here to inspire the next generation of golfers. And we could take this the wrong way. I don't think it's necessarily what meets the eye. I'm not out here to inspire someone to be the best player in the world because, well, there can only be one of those. What's the point? What's the point? It's a pretty deep question. This is not a fulfilling life. It's fulfilling from the sense of accomplishment, excellence, but it's not fulfilling from a sense of the deepest places of your heart. Every time I'm able to win a tournament, the first person I always look for is my wife. She's always the first person I want to celebrate with. She knows me better than anybody. That's my best friend. I had to put this quote up because my wife's my best friend too. So I can appreciate it. So my last decade, I have been incredibly fortunate to be around greatness. It's around me everywhere I turn, and it's so cool. So I want to share a little bit of that with you. So first, John Langford, my friend. So John came all the way up here from Claremont, Florida. John, he came up here for the good weather, the warmth. I'm like, you should have seen it 2 days ago when it had 4 inches of snow on the ground. John, crazy guy, he had a comfortable job, comfortable career as a pastor in Atlanta, Georgia area. And John says, I think I'll move my family, pick them up, move to Orlando, get a job as a Disney cast member, down the ranks a little bit, and because I want to get to know the cast members and I want to start a ministry to help them. There's a need. There's a huge need. That's greatness. Christopher Glotzback, I can relate. We have a little similarity, but hey, I have 15 years on you. I still have you a little bit on here. But anyway, so Christopher took over as head pastor of our church about 1.5 years ago. And I've watched Christopher blossom. He took over. It's tough. He took over for a pastor who had been very successful for over 40 years. 40 years. We were having about 1,200 people a weekend, and he just took the body of that church and loved them, loved the community, gave himself and his soul and continues to do so. And we're actually at like 1,800 a weekend now, and it's just fun to watch. It's fun to watch you, man. So to me, that's great. My friend Brandon Smith, where's Brandon? Oh, he's on the camera back there. So Brandon is with our digital corps on campus, which is a really, I've never seen anything like it in a university, but it's a group of about 60 to 70 students, digitally equipped, like very talented students, and then he has a staff of 5 or 6. And Brandon, what's so fun is they produce media outputs basically for us to sell ourselves, sell our programs, what are we doing well. And what's so neat about Brandon and his team is they just serve. They just serve the campus. They love our campus. They love the people, and they serve us. They want to help us tell our stories. And it trickles down all the way. That's great leadership. But to me, that's greatness. Jennifer Weesey from Noblesville here, business owner here in Noblesville. So Jennifer owns Bee-Free, gluten-free snacks. And Jennifer's story is that, and Michael, her husband's here too. Michael's in the background, so sometimes I forget about Michael, but I think that's the way he wants it. So, but they had an autistic son, Augie is his name, And they were trying to search for how can we make his life as good as possible. And so through their research, they found that gluten is a problem and it exacerbates things. And so she went to work on formulas and creations, and she comes up with a product, and people start saying, Jen, you need to sell this. Like, this is good. You need to sell this. And so she does, and it's a grind because it's always a grind. Very rarely do we hear these instant success stories. If we do, it's usually fabricated or they forget all the details. But she worked really hard at it, and she is to this day. And what I think is really cool about Jen is I know she's grinding it hard, really hard, like driving to Pittsburgh to pitch something because she wants to be in front of the buyer, and then driving back and speaking to my class. Just gives. More than that, they've developed a nonprofit within their organization that serves disabled folks who need work and they need to be in society. And the really cool thing, the full circle, is Augie does the training. Pretty cool. That's greatness. Scott Wright, my good friend Scott Wright, and also Lindsay Thompson is here from North American Hardware and Paint Association, which is out of Indy. I've worked with Scott for about 13 years now on training programs, leadership development programs for their retailers, their trade group. And what's always struck me is these people just want to serve the industry. They just want to serve these retailers, and they want to bring them together, and they do it with excellence, and they do it really with service in mind. It's an incredible thing to be a part of. To me, that's greatness. Oh, this is a tough one. Very hard to get a picture of this lady, by the way, because she's always too busy serving people. So Candy Dodd on the left there, my teammate, my coworker. Candy just gives her soul to people every day. Every day. And a great example is Brenna, one of our students from last year. Candy was her surrogate mom for 2 years. And she just poured into Brenna. And Brenna struggled in the beginning. And Mr. Excellence drove her hard. She needed someone like Candy. I mean, I loved her a little bit too, but Candy really loved her. It was a great balance. That's just an example of what she does. Everybody loves Candy. We have youth programs in the community. She pours into those kids that nobody else wants to pour into, frankly. She also pours into our community, entrepreneurs, our students, our campus. She serves everybody. That's greatness. My good friend Rich Maloney, our baseball coach up here, incredible success over the years. 2 stints at Ball State and a stint at the University of Michigan. And man, excellence. I love going to their practices because it's just excellence. It's like poetry in motion. He's had some great successes the last few years. The picture on the left is from the Lexington University of Kentucky Regional in the NCAA tournament. Very cool moment to get to experience with him and his staff. And last year he won his 1,000th career game, all D1. I think that's pretty cool too. And, you know, lots of draft picks, lots of success, lots of wins. That's why the guys come there. But I don't think that's why when they leave there, it may not be the only thing. That moment where he had his 1,000th win, that's what I see out of their alumni and their teams is the togetherness. They feel it, the way he and his staff pour into them. Another really cool thing is he received an email maybe a month ago, and from a top 5, top 10 program in the country. This is almost unbelievable, to be honest. Gist of the email is, hey, our data analytics guy is doing some work on draft picks, and Ball State keeps popping up. And it's an anomaly. Let's be honest. First of all, Northern teams don't know how to play baseball, do they? Right? I mean, Hey, do you all have to shovel the snow for every game? But second, it's a mid-major. It's a Mid-American Conference team. And, well, it goes deeper. When they started looking at first-round draft picks, you really rose to the top. Unusual. The weird thing about college baseball is a lot of times you pour into these players, especially pitchers. They'll give you something at your level, but a lot of times the fruit is later. It's after college. But to these guys, it doesn't matter. They're pouring into them where they are today. And Rich has impacted so many people so positively. It goes way beyond baseball. It's the community. And I know I'm one of the beneficiaries of that, and he's had to be really patient the last 12 or 13 years to pour into me and to mentor me. But I know I appreciate it. That's greatness. So lesson 4, it takes a village. Surround yourself with greatness. Go find it. Have a thirst for it. Go find people who are pouring into other people and doing it with excellence. That's who you want to be around. On to the family. So my son, Nate, Nate had a tough bout early in high school with cystic acne. It was a tough couple of years. It was tough on us. It was really tough on him. Really tough. But what I saw out of him was toughness back. And he committed to school, did excellently in school, and now he's a freshman at Ball State. He's in microbiology, maybe pre-med. We're still sorting that out. But it's with an eye to help people because he's been through it. So we don't know what the future looks like, but he's pursuing greatness. You're laughing, Lindsay, but you're next. So my daughter, Lindsay, she golfs, she dances, and she's a sophomore in high school. And Lindsay, I'd say the first few weeks of the season this past fall for high school golf were not, she was playing okay, but it wasn't to her expectations. And then she had about a week and a half stint where it kicked in. And you know, if you know team golf, it's a weird deal. Let's be honest. It's weird because you love your team, you love your teammates, and she does, but you also want to whip them. You know, you're competitive. You want to beat them. And so she had a match where she came home at night. She wasn't feeling well. She debated whether she was going to play or not. I throw out the Michael Jordan flu game, didn't I? We talked about that. You know, Jordan played with the flu, and he scored like 37 points and beat the Jazz, you know. And she's like, all right, I'm playing. And so she plays, has one of her best rounds of the season, and she comes home, and she said, Dad, why do I want to win so badly? Should I want to win this bad? That sounds familiar, right? Scotty Scheffler. Then she said, what's the point? Scotty Scheffler said that too. We talked about that. I was stumped. What do I say? Because I'm thinking, maybe I want her to win too bad too. And you know, when you don't know what to say, you just don't say anything. That's best. So I thought about it, and I said, you know, it's a conduit. You want to pursue excellence. You want to give it your best. You want to pour into it. You want to be a good teammate because it gives you a conduit to have further influence and impact. That's why you do it. The winning just something that happens. It's kind of like money in business. It just happens. And that's why Disney and Southwest are kind of struggling because, and they're still doing well, but the money is too much the focus and not the people. And that's what made them great. They were all about people. My wife, Julie, she's like, oh no. So I don't know. I mean, I'm around her all the time, but I've never seen a bigger giver. She spends 24/7, 365 giving. And Indianapolis Airport. She sees the guy. He's adopting a couple of kittens, a couple of strays. TSA, in all their brilliance, says you need to take those out of the carriers, because they're so dangerous. And everybody else is just doing their thing. They're moving on. She sees it. She goes to the guy. She grabs one, takes a load off. She says, I got you. And I'm like, I gotta get a picture because I like to save these moments. And so I'm one of those guys. I'm not helping. I'm just taking pictures. And instantly things calm down. The guy can handle one cat. She has this cat calm down. And they go back in the carrier. He's very thankful. They go on their way. That's what she does. That's what she does every day. The other one, so she's our a la carte manager at our local high school lunchroom. And she fixes stuff the kids love. It's unique. They look forward to it. When do you hear about kids looking forward to school lunch? And I've asked her, I'm like, Julie, what? This is a thankless job. Like, wait, why do you want to do that? You don't need to do this. And she said, because I love it. These kids may not have anyone else love them that day or smile to them. I might be the only one. Okay, I won't ask that question again because that's greatness. So lesson 5, empower. This is a tough one. Empower greatness in those in your direct sphere of influence. It's tough. Just have to give it our best shot. So back to the story. So what I did not share, I brought us to the green. I'm looking out. This guy's waving me over. Come play with me. What I did not share is in that hotel room, groggy, I had something lifting me up on my armpits. And somehow I get dressed. Somehow I grab the keys. Somehow I end up to the car. Somehow I drive there. Somehow I end up slotted in behind this guy by myself in a very busy course. And it's as if I was being drugged, like the cartoon characters where their legs and feet are just dragging. So here he is. In the state of mind I was in, I was saying, yeah, I'll join you. Like, I didn't want to. I wanted to wallow in my own self-pity. But I didn't really have much of a choice. Like, he's there. So I'm like, okay. So his wife's there. She's not playing, but she's there. She just has a book in her hand, hanging out. And so we proceeded small talk for a couple holes. It's moving slow. Finally, the third hole, I kind of bare my soul to him. I'm miserable. I have an abusive boss. Woe is me. And he said, it's really interesting you share that. I worked for the state of Nevada, so I also had a state job, and I had a very similar situation, very similar. And the boss did the same stuff to me that you're describing. But what I decided was I only had a few months left with this guy, and I was just going to serve him. So we go to the next T station, and he had said that he moonlighted with another job. He didn't tell me what it was. So we go to the next T station, and I said, hey, where's your wife? Where's your wife? And he said, oh, she knows when I have these divine appointments to disappear and go to the car and read a book. You have my attention. You have my attention. So we're talking. We go to the next hole, and he said, Rob, I just want to give you a couple pieces of advice. He said, my moonlighting job is I'm starting a church. I'm a pastor. And I have couples come to me who lost a child, and they ask why. Why me? Why us? And by this time, I'm shrinking into the ground a little bit. And he said, you can't ask that question. It does no good. You have to ask, what's next, God? What's next? What do you want me to do with this? Okay? He said, the other thing I would say is just serve this guy. Just serve him. And so I did. I went back, served the guy 4 or 5 months. He said, it probably won't change him, and that's not your goal. Your goal is to change you. And it did. That was a defining moment for me 10 years ago. That whole situation, it definitely changed me. Gary Least is from Nevada. Our paths met that day. We've stayed in touch. There's this odd thing where we'll text each other, hey, I'm going to Florida. Hey, I'm going to be down there next week too. Let's play golf. How's that happen? How does that happen? It's happened like 4 or 5 times since then. Crazy. So my greatness journey the last decade, some of the really cool stuff I've gotten to do, it's just a real gift, like we get to do this stuff. Grant work is one thing. We've had a couple of large grants that we've been able to raise, and it's allowed us to do unusual, extraordinary things in our community, on campus, and with our students. Incredible opportunities. We give these kids, our students, community, youth in the community, we give them experiences they would never otherwise have. What a privilege. But the question I get asked, because in university culture today, people actually have asked me multiple times, what are you doing this for? Just serve yourself. Just serve yourself. I can't. This is a lot more fun. This is fun stuff. I love doing consulting, training, workshops, speaking. I love to do unique things that challenge people, that help people get better at what they do. I love it. It's fun. Books. I've had 2 books after the age of 40. Who knew? I know David Cook's first book was after 50, right, Keith? And, who would have thought? But I don't do this stuff. You don't write books to get rich, by the way. But I do it because I'm thinking, I have this stuff. I should just give it away to people. They can use it for good. It can have an impact. Our students, same deal as before. You hear all the things. Ugh, today's student's tough. And they're not lying. They're not lying. Are they, Sabrina? They're not lying. You're in the classroom with them. It is tough. And they're saying, the administration's tough. Everything's tough. Just go the easy route. Give them what they want. Make it easy. Just those softballs. I can't do it. I pour my soul into my classes and my students. And the reason I do it is because I want them to have unique experiences. And I think we're doing that. And I do it because I want them to leave and say, I feel impacted by what they were trying to do. And I think our students would say that. But the pressure is to not do that. I also own a garden center. I'm a man of many things, very complicated. But it's a great release at the end of a tough school year to just go work my butt off for a couple months. Hard work. I love it. Love it. Kind of a sicko, like Scotty Scheffler said. I love it because you want to bring joy to somebody's life, source really good flowers. That brings joy to people's lives. And I see it. It's pretty cool. Selling them stuff and you're giving them the joy. Also, out our backyard, of course, some of the flowers come home. It's a lot of work, actually. We live on a golf course, so this is just off the cart path. We have people stop at our house every night during the summer just to look at our flowers, and I ain't playing golf. It brings them joy. I love it. I love it. The Greatness book. So, must have been 3-4 years ago. I bought it on a whim. You know, they were pumping the advertising hard. And so I buy this book, and I had to give up a firstborn to buy it. But I buy this book, and I had a trip coming up, like the next day I got it, and down to Florida. I read it on the plane ride down. And on the way back, I read it again, and I make notes in it. And I sent Rich a text, and I sent my wife, and I said, it's the best book I've ever read. This thing's incredible. Like, it really touched me. And so since that time, 3 years ago, I've given away over 200 copies of this book. And gosh, I don't know how many with the Ball State baseball team. Basically, we have a coaching and mentoring program with this book with the Ball State baseball team, probably 50 copies at least by now, maybe more. So really cool. I try to do it with family too. That's the hardest. The ones closest to you is hard because we take it for granted. We don't always treat them the way we should. But I try to give them a good life. I try to give them opportunities. Try to help them experience failure, because that's good too. But you just do the best you can. So lesson 6, real fulfillment and impact is found in greatness through serving and inspiring others. Straight from the Greatness book, towards the end of the book, page 90, Dr. David Cook says, greatness doesn't bask in the limelight. It redirects to others. Greatness isn't about being larger than life or the center of the universe. It's about being a servant, a giver. It isn't about me. It's about others. Greatness goes through success, through excellence, through achievement, through performance. Because that doesn't fulfill, and you chase and chase and chase. Nothing wrong with having it. And keeps going. Greatness is the place beyond success. Not all champions reach this mark. Only those with a noble heart. Only those with a selfless ego. And finally, 2 major traits radiate from people of greatness: the need to achieve and the need to give. That's greatness. Thank you.